what better way to wrap our minds around the twists and turns of season 4 than a chat with our guests, the masterminds, the Duffer brothers, Matt and Ross. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having us back.
So let's get to it. We end with Elle entering Max's mind, and it looks like one is on the ropes, but that is not how things turn out. Can you talk us through that a little bit?
I mean, it was this season. We always wanted our Empire Strikes Back season. We tried it a little bit with 3, but this is kind of really doubling down on that idea of, like, you know, at least 3 has a sad note. There's a sacrifice, but they've defeated the evil, or at least pushed it back for a while. Whereas this one, we wanted them to actually lose, and so we wanted our characters to experience what that felt like. And that was the big idea really coming into 4, right? Was that they were going to lose, that we were going to introduce Vecna, and that they were going to lose to him. That would be setting our characters up for what is going to be the ultimate final confrontation with Vecna, with the Upside Down, which is going to be season 5.
So let's start with the origin of the Upside Down. Can you explain a little bit about what's going on there?
We do sort of set up the idea first. In episode 7, we talk about how it's in the past. And it's sort of frozen in time, this time when Will was taken. And the questions as to why that is still not, we haven't answered it yet.
Great.
It will be answered in season 5. But I do think we give some hints to what that answer is when we see what happens with Henry when he's in this other world, and he's seen Demogorgons marching around, and he finds the Mind Flayer in this other world. So we're starting to hint at what is going on here, but there's still answers to come, and I think the answers to what the Upside Down actually is really gonna be the core of what season 5 is and the mysteries of season 5.
Oh, right.
And those answers are really gonna lead us to the conclusion of this story.
Wow. I mean, we have so many characters, so many storylines going on. How do you choreograph all of these things going together? How do you track all the characters? Because even the smallest character has a character arc, and I'm really fascinated. It's so much, and you keep adding characters.
I know. We need to stop. Somebody needs to stop us. So we're stopping. We're not adding any more characters in season 5. I promise. No, it just we have a great writer's room, and we just outline. I mean, really, I'm all about planning. We're not free flowing, as we write. We really try to, as best as possible, think about all of that ahead of time. So you think about, we knew where Max was going to go. We knew where Lucas was going to go. We knew what, the Vecna Henry storyline. We knew that very early on, right? I mean, not saying it doesn't evolve a little bit as we go, and we're learning as we go. We knew Elle's trajectory for the story. So those are the earliest things that you talk about as you're talking about the season, and then you just try to make sure that you're tracking it. And then this season, we also had the benefit of there was a shutdown due to the pandemic, COVID, and we were down for about 6 months. So for the first time ever, we were able to actually complete all of the scripts before shooting started, and then look at them as a whole, and then fix any issues, and make sure the characters were tracking from episode to episode. If there was a character arc that was feeling a little bit light or incomplete, we were able to go in and plug in those holes. I mean, that was something that we just simply never have the time. Normally, what happens is we write about 4 scripts, 3 to 4 scripts, and then we start shooting, and then we're kind of writing as we're going. And there's a little bit, though there's a plan. Sometimes things slip through the cracks. So this season we had the luxury of a lot of extra time. So anyway, that's one of the benefits of 4. It will never happen again. Hopefully, hopefully it never happens again in terms of us having that amount of time. But it was nice that we were able to give every character their due in this season.
That kind of detail, the little grace notes everyone has, it feels complete. You know, a binge feels like one, although it's the longest binge in history.
No, I mean, there were little things like, I mean, even little like these, what we call a plant payoff or whatever, like in terms of, say, we get to the finale and we didn't have the idea early on that Eddie was going to be, playing Metallica on the roof of his trailer. So that was an idea that came.
Really?
Right. No, I mean, it wasn't. That was one of our writers, Curtis, threw out that idea because we were trying to figure out how are they going to distract the demo bats, and Curtis goes, well, he's, what if he, plays Metallica, What if he's doing that, you know, on the top of his trailer? And then they've set up all these speakers. We fell in love with that idea. We're like, we have to do that, but we hadn't really set him up as a guitarist. And we set up that we knew that he was into that style of music, but we hadn't set him up in that way. We were able to then go back, because none of this had been shot yet, and layer in the guitar, layer in his band. That scene with him and Chrissy, which is one of my favorite scenes, which humanized him in a real way and humanized Chrissy in a real way, was sort of a whatever scene. It was just a drug deal exchange scene. So that scene we were able to layer in not just the fact that he has this band, we were able to humanize him. So those are the kind of things that really got a lot better.
And what about Max's horrifying death?
Right.
Was there any possibility that she was going to die permanently, or was it always kind of a coma?
No, it was discussed. It was discussed as a possibility. For a while, that is what was going to happen, and so sort of we ended up in this sort of more of a, we wanted to end it in a little bit more of a question mark at the end of the season, where it's still really dark and we don't know if Max is going to be okay or
have
what,
eyeballs,
or what's, yeah, we don't really know. I think, and we wanted to leave it a little bit up in the air moving forward into season 5, and then and
I will say the other thing about the coma, it's the coma, that idea that came as we were also in this extra half year that we had. We went and broke season 5. So season 5 is solved, and so the fact that she's in a coma, I can't really get into the details, but it is important that she is.
Wow.
And that is gonna have a major effect on 5. So it's not a, oh well, you know, a cheat. It's incredibly relevant to 5.
Wow. What about the Mind Flayer drawing that was Henry? That was another, whoa. Did that come from the details, or is that always an integral part of the arc, setting up Henry as one slash Vecna?
Yeah, it was always something we wanted to make sure to get in there, was to start to explain how all this works with the Mind Flayer. And, you know, we saw the Mind Flayer talking through Billy in season 3, but we never really knew until now what that voice was and where it was coming from. And I think when you hear Henry speaking, say the end of episode 7, or when he's talking to 11,
we could reshape the world, remake it however we see fit. Join me.
Hopefully people can see how the tone of that voice and the types of things he's saying and the language he's using is very similar to what we had in season 3 with Billy.
We've been building it. We've been building it for you.
And so we really wanted to make sure we connected those dots. There are still, as we've said, there's still some question marks that we haven't, where we know the answer, but we just haven't filled it in yet, because we wanted to save some of those revelations for season 5.
Yeah, like Henry being redeemable. Or, is he really a bad seed, or is there redemption there, or is that a spoiler?
That's the question.
Okay.
I mean, no, that's up in the air. I mean, listen, we've talked a lot about him. I think we have a pretty good understanding of him, us and our writers. I mean, we probably talked about him more than anybody else. We know his whole prequel story, if you'll call it. Like, we know, and we're gonna get into that in 5.
Yeah.
And is there still any humanity left in him? That's the question.